Welcome to TTK Life Strategies. My name is John and I am really excited to chat to my guest, Di Allen. I met Di in the middle of 2019 in Thailand when I started to work at the same company where she was a counselor. And Di has always been one of those people that struck me as being focused. She knows what she wants. She's good at what she does. She knows she's good at what she does, but she's always, my experience has been, she's always open-minded to learn more, to ask for advice when necessary. So in many ways, she's been a real mentor to me. So I'm really excited to learn even more about Di and for her to share some inspiration, some hope with us and the viewers. Welcome, Di. Really, really great to have you on the program.
I am currently still living in Thailand, which is awesome. I left working in the organisation where John was and moved to Chiang Mai to work in another organisation. And I only just been working there for 2 months when COVID hit.
Wow.
And I was put on unpaid furlough. So I was still employed by the organisation, but I wasn't getting any salary. But they did continue to pay for my work permit. So I went without any finances coming up, like a regular wage coming in for about 7 months. Yeah, I went through all my savings. But what I did do was I did have about 3 private clients online. That saved my bacon, basically. So I had a little bit of money coming in, just enough to pay reduced rent and survive. But I never lost hope that I would be looked after. You know, my philosophy has always been, if I do the right things, then the right things always happen. That's for me. I can't speak for anyone else. So I was, for those 7 months, I wasn't, well, I'd say 6 of those 7 months, I didn't stress at all. Being in lockdown, staying isolated in my house, I was very lucky that I had a beautiful house, renting a beautiful house with a garden and a pool. I had a couple of clients online, so I managed, or something helped me manage, something greater than myself helped me manage. And in the 7th month, I started to panic a little bit. The work with those clients had come to an end. I couldn't see any more money coming in. And it was coming to close where I was really considering having to go back to the UK, because I had spent right through my savings, didn't have any more money coming in. And financial insecurity's always been a big one for me. But I'd already had conversations with my daughter, who's 32, in the UK, saying, you might have to buy me a flight, like next week, to come and stay with you till I get back on my feet. And of course she was willing to do that. But that's the first time ever I've had to ask my daughter for money. It's usually the other way around, the banker mum. And then luckily someone else who I worked with in the same organisation where me and John worked sent me an email saying there's this organisation looking for counsellors in Chiang Mai. So I sent my resume in to their website. I was offered an interview within 2 days, and then I was offered the position the next day.
Amazing.
And I was supposed to start in the October. So this was towards the end of September. I think it was about the 20th of September. And I knew I'd have to move because it was like a good 40 kilometers away from where I currently lived, and I don't drive. So I had to find another house closer to the organisation, so it'd be easier for me to commute to work. And then the CEO messaged me or emailed me saying, any chance you can start on the 26th or something like that? And I was like, yeah, okay. So I did commute the 40k there and back on the one day. I think that was a Friday. And then that weekend, I packed up my house and moved to this house, which again, so lucky to get. It's got a pool right outside. Yeah, so I moved over the weekend, so I was closer to work, come ready again for Monday. So yeah, ever since like the end of September, I've been living out here in Sarapi in Chiang Mai. You know, and that's me trusting in that if I do the right things, then the right things happen, you know. Even in difficult times, even when I get those insecurities that I've got to go back to the UK when I really don't, really don't want to. And I've got no money left, and what am I going to do? You know, if I have faith and I continue to do the next right thing, then the right thing, and I have to remember that myself. It's never let me down, ever, not yet. Anyway, touch wood, it never will. The right thing always happens for me. You know, yes, we're in a pandemic, which, you know, all of our current generations have never seen the like of. You know, it's become normalized to walk around with a face mask on, use hand gel everywhere. There's businesses closing left, right, and centre, which is really sad, you know, and it's just destroying people's livelihoods. But so far, I have been one of the lucky ones. Yeah, so you know that is my experience of hope in the last, just in the last 8 months, 9 months. Um, you know, I've been looked after. So for me, well, I'm in recovery, and before I come into recovery, I, I would say I was not such a nice person. I didn't treat people well. I didn't treat myself well. I didn't treat my daughter well. Um, and then when I came into recovery and started working a program that helps me live life on life's terms on a daily basis, that showed me how to have compassion, how to have love for myself and for others, how to treat people with kindness, how to give without expecting to receive. Um, you know, that's me doing all the right things. That is me leading a spiritual life. Now, I used to, me personally, and some people still do, I used to think spiritual meant religious, and I'm not a religious person by any means. Um, you know, but spirituality means something totally different to me now. Spirituality for me, how I interpret it, is me being the best person or the best version of myself that I can be in that day. So that's me going about my daily life, not causing harm to others, not saying mean things to others, not causing disrespect to myself, disrespect to others, um, treating people with kindness and compassion, self-love, love for others, you know, treating people how I want to be treated. So for me, that, you know, that program gives me that spiritual way of life. So by me doing the next right thing, then the next right thing always happens for me. You know, and also in recovery, I learned if I say if I say a lie, a mistruth, or if I do something that could be interpreted as wrong or mean or anything like that, then it sits uncomfortably in the pit of my stomach. And then I know I'm not doing the next right thing. So I have to make an amend for that and correct whatever it is that's sitting uncomfortable in me. So yeah, that's what I mean by doing the next right thing. You know, I try to treat people how I want to be treated. Yeah, definitely.
The next right thing. This
Yeah,
is,
I don't like things sitting uncomfortable with me at all. Hope and inspiration. I've been to places, I've been in places in my life where I have felt so hopeless. I couldn't see any other way out except to try take my own life. Yeah, you know, so today for me, I always have hope. I try not to go to that hopeless place. And, you know, when I was in those hopeless places, um, I was in active addiction. I had a young child, you know, and when I was using substances, I would hate myself for what I was putting my daughter through, because I always swore if I ever had children, I would treat them better than my parents did me. Now, that's not to say I blame my parents for the way I turned out or for what happened to me in life. They did the best with what they knew how, and they thought they were doing the right thing. You know, we're human beings and we make mistakes. So I don't hold resentment or hatred towards my parents. But I also wanted to not put my daughter what some of the stuff I went through. You know, I was abandoned. I was put into kids' homes. I was in and out of kids' homes. I felt like no one wanted me, no one loved me. My first suicide attempt was when I was 17. My last suicide attempt was when I was 35, 36. So I had quite a few suicide attempts. I suffered depression. I was first diagnosed with depression from the age of 17. Um, you know, I couldn't see any way out of the life I had. You know, I couldn't see life getting any better. You know, the be I was going to say days, but sometimes it was weeks where I would just lay in bed in filth. Um, I just couldn't see the point of getting up and getting washed because I wasn't going out. You know, I couldn't see how anyone could love me because I didn't fucking love me. When I had no substances in me, I hated myself. I hated what I was doing to another child that I swore I'd never do. You know, um, I was beaten as a child, and I swore I'd never hit my child, and I did. I've hit her twice in my entire life, and I fucking hated myself for that. Sorry for swearing.
that's fine.
Um, I hated myself for that because I knew what it was like, and I knew how scared I was. I knew that I must be a bad. I used to think and tell myself I must be such a bad child to receive these beatings. Um, and growing up with all that, you know, I guess in today's society, they call it adverse childhood experiences, which is trauma. And I do see it as trauma for other people, but for me, I saw it as the culture that I grew up in.
Wow.
Did I interpret it as trauma, and do I interpret it as trauma now? For me, no. But working with other clients, I do see how it's traumatic for other clients and the effects and the impact it has on them. But for me, I grew up in the 70s, and I see it as it was the culture and the times that we grew up in. And that's not to excuse what adults did at all. But again, I have compassion and understanding for my parents anyway, that they did the best they could with what they knew how. My dad was a bully, and I guess it's took me a long time to recognize that. But again, I remember when I was in treatment, and the counselors were telling me I was abused, and I was like, I wasn't. And I still don't see it. For me, I see it in other clients, but I'm very hard on myself, and I don't want to be seen as a victim. And John, you know me, and I come across as very a tough exterior sometimes, but actually I'm a big, squishy, vulnerable person inside. So I don't want to acknowledge myself as a victim. Not that being a victim is a bad thing, because I see plenty of victims. My daughter was a victim of me and my behaviors. But for me, it was the times I grew up in. Most parents beat their bloody kids. The school teachers could smack you with the cane, the ruler, the slipper. Police officers used to drag us home by our ears lobes and frickin' smack us round the head. It was the time and the society that we grew up in. Does that make it right? Not at all. But I choose not to use the word on me that I'm a victim. And I'm okay with that. But it has had impact on me growing up through my childhood and through my adulthood. And it's stuff I've worked on, training to be a therapist whilst I was in treatment. When I come out of treatment, I've had all my own counselling sessions while I was training to be a counsellor. And I'm good with my past. I've made peace with my past, and I accept my past. I can't change my past. It is what it is. And it's made me there's a saying in recovery, I don't regret my past, nor do I wish to close the door on it. And I truly believe that that's true for me, because my past has made me who I am today. And I love and accept and embrace myself today, the good, the bad, the ugly. I am who I am, and I can look myself in the mirror and I can be proud of myself, and I can say I haven't harmed anyone today, intentionally or unintentionally. Most of the time, I haven't harmed anyone today. And I'm proud of who I am today. I left school at the age of 14 because I was on heroin. I was a smackhead. I was in and out of kids' homes. And then I went to college at the age of 36, and I freaking hated it. I did a diploma in counselling for 2 years. I wanted to throw my laptop out the window most days. I did say to myself, I can't do this, I'm stupid, I'm dumb. I left school at the age of 14. I remember teachers saying I'd never amount to anything. But I persevered. There's a survivor instinct in me that keeps pushing me. And I passed that diploma. And then I did something really crazy, and I applied to university. Oh my God. If I thought I hated college, I really hated university, because they used all these big words and languages that I didn't understand, because I come from a working, low paid, low socio or economic family background. We were poor. I hated university. I couldn't speak the language. Again, I felt less than. I felt I can't do this. I thought I can't do that. You know, all those negative core beliefs came back in, and I did a lot of work to get rid of them. And I wanted to throw the laptop out, and you know, I couldn't even sit an exam. Everyone else sat an exam. I kept having panic attacks in the exam. So my tutors did something really loving and really kind. They said, okay, we're just going to have a tutorial. And we had a verbal exam. And I passed university. So, you know, something out there keeps looking after me, helps me to survive, keeps protecting me. Something greater than myself. I don't believe in a God, because I was dragged up Catholic. You know, for me, I'm not saying if you're Catholic, I oppose you, I don't. Each to their own, but for me and what I grew up with, that doesn't work for me. You know, I have a higher power that looks out for me and protects me. Something has been watching over me, because I should have been dead many times over, either by my own hand or other people's hands. You know, it's come close to that many, many times. And you know, I went through university. I actually started peer supporting at the rehab that I went into. Then I started placement there, volunteer counselling there, trainee counsellor there, and over a 13-year period, I went from being a client in that rehab to being the manager of that rehab. Now, if that isn't a frickin' miracle, I don't know what is. You know, from a woman, a child that had nothing, that grew up poor, that was a smackhead at the age of 14, that was in and out of kids' homes, was getting arrested on a regular basis, was trying to take her own life on a fairly regular basis, had other people trying to take her life on a less regular basis, but still there. To go to be the first person in her family history ever to go to college, first person in her family history ever to go to university, to end up being a manager of a rehab where she was once a client. They seek help. There's always a way out. I know when you're in that deep despair of hopelessness where you want to take your own life, because I've been there so many times, you know, seek help. People will help. There's so many ways you can get help, through counselling, through your GP, through a mental health crisis team, through your friends, through your family. You know, never give up hope. There's always a way out.